Denver prepares to move migrants out of an enormous encampment as we learn just how much the city expects to spend supporting migrants this year. Another lawsuit, one state legislator against another. Now a Democrat's trying to stop a tax credit because of how Democrats handled the debate. Book banners have been busy in Colorado lately, but so are the people trying to keep forbidden books available to anyone who wants to read them.
Those are some of the books that are the most important for people to have access to.
And we'll take you to a place where the migrants in our community are finding hope, and the community can find the products the migrants are making. Tonight on Next. The city of Denver is preparing to spend 10% of its budget this year on the migrant crisis, $180 million. That's what the mayor told City Council today as the city prepares to move hundreds of migrants out of a street encampment and into shelter tomorrow. Here's Mark Salinger.
The corner of Spear and Zuna is no place for a family.
Yo tengo mi nieta de 7 años, dormimos en las carpas. Y es triste porque no podemos dormir porque el frío nos agobia demasiado.
Nairith made it to Denver after months of traveling from Venezuela. Her grandchildren are 6 months and 7 years old.
De Venezuela.
In between coughing, Camila tells us she's been sick all the time, and her family doesn't have the money to buy her the medicine she needs.
Tiene mucha tos, se le presenta fiebre.
Tonight might be the last night the family of 10 spends living in the cold. Tomorrow morning, Denver police will come through and clear the camp. The city has made space for 320 of the migrants living here to move into shelters. They'll be allowed to stay there for 30 days, with the hope of moving into permanent housing after.
No es nada concreto, porque no sabemos a qué parte nos van a llevar, pues. Pero un techo que nos dé es una bendición.
Out here, it's clear Denver has a problem.
This challenge is far larger than we've ever seen it before, and the scale can feel overwhelming.
Inside City Council, the mayor is sounding an alarm on how much this crisis will cost.
Our budget right now for 2024 at this capacity would be about $180 million for 2024. You can do the math in your head, but that's about 10 to 15% of the entire general fund budget for 2024.
Democratic Mayor Mike Johnston put around $50 million towards solving homelessness last year. The migrant crisis could cost more than 3 times that amount this year.
That would be a very, very painful conversation about budget options if we had to figure that out.
Tengo demasiado miedo porque no sé qué va a pasar con mi nieta.
In a battle between a city wanting to be welcoming and a city's bottom line, the future is not clear.
Nunca pensamos que íbamos a pasar todo esto.
City of Denver says it has enough space that everyone at that camp will be given shelter tomorrow when it's swept. They'll be allowed to stay for 30 days, though it's not clear what happens after. The city says it's hopeful that people will be able to find housing before those 30 days are up. New arrivals, though, still get kicked out of those other migrant shelters 14 days, Kyle, after they arrive if they're not traveling with kids.
One thing that makes getting migrants into shelter a bit easier than getting some of the homeless population into shelters is the fact that they're often more eligible to get into and hold on to apartments.
Landlords are more willing to rent to them. The city of Denver is trying to help by saying, if you have a job, if you're a migrant who has a job, we will pay your first month's rent. If you don't have a job, the city of Denver is committing to paying for the first 3 months' rent. Talked about where's all this money going. That's part of it.
Mark, thank you. For the first time in Mayor Mike Johnston's term, Denver is not operating under a declared state of emergency for homelessness. The mayor declared that state of emergency on his first day in office. It freed up funding and other city resources for his House 1,000 goal. Johnston has the same goal this year, getting another 1,000 people off the street in 2024. But the state of emergency was allowed to expire at the end of 2023. It was 167 days long, with more than $45 million spent. The city of Denver moving 1,000 people off the streets and into shelter in 6 months is both a monumental achievement and just a first step. The kind of first step that'll be remembered as a misstep if the city can't manage to keep those people sheltered and to move most of them into housing. And those next steps will be harder than the first. But the journey has now begun. And you have to be rooting for them being the people who are trying to turn a corner in their lives, them being Mayor Johnston and the city employees who are trying to help with that process. Rooting against them at this point, rooting for the mayor and the city to fail, rooting for these people to fall back into homelessness, that feels pretty ugly and small, even by current political standards. That said, any government effort this expensive, this important, needs scrutiny. You've seen it here when the city of Denver got crosswise with neighbors in the city, with neighboring jurisdictions, when the city changed how it was measuring who is getting sheltered and didn't tell the public until journalists caught on. And that scrutiny will continue, but not without a moment of congratulations for the mayor and the city employees who did something huge, taking the first step to help 1,000 people toward a better path in life. Denver police are telling us that they don't see any evidence at this point that the guy who shot his way into the state Supreme Court building after a car crash outside this morning was in any way connected to all the threats against the justices who ruled against Donald Trump. Police say this man, 44-year-old Brandon Olson, got into a crash with another driver by the court building around 1 in the morning. Olson then grabbed a gun, shot out a window of the court complex. Investigators say inside he held a security guard at gunpoint before firing some shots and starting a fire in a stairwell. Police say that Olson called 911 and surrendered to them around 3 in the morning, 2 hours after it all started. Both DPD and the State Patrol, which secures that judicial building, say they do not see any link between the incident and the threats to the justices who ruled that Trump should not be on Colorado's primary ballot because he incited an insurrection. The people trying to ban books are more active in Colorado than in any neighboring state. 136 books were challenged here last year. Those are preliminary numbers from the American Library Association. But the people determined to preserve public access to those books, they're hard at work too. Our Julissa Arizari has that story.
Let's see.
The start of the new year is the perfect time to dwell on the past.
Maybe it's in here.
Because in this library, history is always present.
And a lot of it is about gay liberation topics.
Rex Fuller knows books about the gay community were once hard to find.
Yeah.
In history, well, you know.
What a lot of it has reminded me of is what we experienced in the 80s around the AIDS crisis, and was really promoted in a lot of misguided legislation.
Fuller is the CEO of the Center on Colfax. He's been keeping an eye on the attempts to ban books. In the first 8 months of 2023, the ALA says more than 3,900 books were challenged. 136 of those were in Colorado. The ALA says most of the challenged books were written by or about a person of color or a member of the LGBTQ+ community.
But it's still important to be able to preserve books so that they're available for future generations.
Fuller reopened the Terry Mangan Memorial Library inside the Center on Colfax less than a month ago. It's a free library with over 2,000 LGBTQ books, magazines, and journals. A space, he says, is needed now more than ever.
That's true. There is a lot of history.
Colorado law may protect a lot of things, but bookshelves are not one of them. Fuller hopes the new year brings a better understanding of literature.
Those are some of the books that are the most important for people to have access to try and overcome these negative outcomes of depression and feelings of isolation that, for many members of the LGBT community is life-saving.
The ALA says in the first 8 months of 2023, 11 different states had more than 100 books challenged. It's worth mentioning the grant to revamp the library came from the National Trust for Historic Preservation. That funding helped build an online archive for oral histories from the pioneers of the Denver LGBTQ+ community.
Yeah, Julissa, it's not subtle what the common thread is through so many of these books that people are trying to ban out of schools and libraries. It's stuff with LGBTQ characters.
Exactly, and that's why these libraries are incredibly important for this community. This library has been around for quite a few decades. It just got this revamp, but it's also important to note that all of these books are donated books from the community, knowing the importance of the texts in them.
All right, Julissa Arizari, thank you very much. Hey, and thank you for your support of the Community Grief Center. They offer free grief counseling in northern Colorado to parents who have lost a child or kids who have lost a sibling, spouses who have lost a husband or a wife. That was your latest Word of Thanks microgiving campaign. And this is pretty astonishing, but more than 500 of you have signed up to give monthly to the Word of Thanks Fund. This is the recurring gift option that Next viewers have been asking about for years. I'm sorry it took so long to put this together. It was a little complicated. But now you can input your donation information once as opposed to every week, and you can support every single nonprofit cause that we feature through our Word of Thanks microgiving campaigns. 500 people signing up for this in the first few weeks is amazing. Please reach out if you have any questions about how the Word of Thanks Fund works. Same place where you're always welcome to send me ideas of nonprofits in Colorado that could use our help as a community. Just email next@9news.com.
And that we're all just here trying to do our very best. And if we and I can be a part of making that happen for somebody, it's the best feeling in the world.
Migrants from Venezuela have told us time and time again, while they wait for the legal asylum process, they just want work. A spot in Aurora is offering that opportunity. And state legislators are suing each other again. And now there's a tax credit increase that hangs in the balance. That's next. A Republican state rep is suing to stop a tax credit increase because he says Democrats broke the rules during November's special session on property tax relief. Late last week, Colorado Springs Republican Scott Bottoms filed this lawsuit against Democratic Governor Jared Polis and House Speaker Julie McCluskey. He's asking a district court judge to overturn an expansion of the earned income tax credit for low-income families. He says the policy was passed unconstitutionally because the speaker wouldn't allow the bill to be read aloud. That's something that they can do under the state constitution. It actually dates back to a time in which a number of state legislators could not read. Now it's mainly used as a stalling technique. Bottoms' lawsuit says McCluskey repeatedly ignored those requests. She'd cut him off from speaking earlier in the day after he used debate time to criticize pro-Palestinian protests in the House gallery.
And I also think I strongly disagree that what happened earlier was civil discourse with our constituents and
Representative
people,
Bottoms,
and I strongly
this is
stand
not to
against
the bill.
that.
Please leave the bill.
And
please
me
leave
being
the well.
reprimanded for that is out of line.
Representative Bottoms, please remove yourself from the well.
Bottoms' lawsuit asks a district court judge to declare the tax credit increase null and void and to block state employees from enacting it. Republicans opposed the tax credit increase during the special session because that money comes out of the taxpayer Bill of Rights refunds. So all the snow and rain that we got early last year gave the states that rely on the Colorado River a bit of breathing room after years of drought and water cuts. But as those states are working together on long-term water sharing deals, the feds think that there's going to be a substantial drop in the water supply in 2024. In late December, the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation updated its forecast for one of Colorado River's biggest reservoirs, Lake Powell. The Bureau estimates that by September, 7.6 million acre-feet of water will flow into that reservoir in Utah and Arizona. That would be about 79% of average, well below last year's levels. The Bureau's prediction is based largely on snowpack levels here in Colorado, as well as New Mexico, Utah, and Wyoming. They're all off to a below-average start. The low levels in Lake Powell become an immediate problem for the states downriver, which rely on releases from the reservoir, but they're also an issue in places like Colorado because we have to pull out of our reservoirs to cover emergency shortages. Forecast, though, is far from settled. Lauren Robinson, the issue becomes, as you get later into the season, it's harder and harder to make up that snowpack deficit when you get off to a slow start like we have.
Yes, we've been off to a slow start, but all hope is not lost because we could still have, fingers crossed, a wetter February and late winter snow. But, you know, yes, we are off to a very slow start. I'm sure I don't have to tell you, we're used to a lot more snow this time of year than what we've already seen. Right now, not contributing to the problem. Clear skies tonight, temperatures at 34 degrees at DIA, light winds coming in from the south at around 8 miles per hour, making it feel closer to 27 degrees on the skin. And as we take a look at our HD Doppler radar, we're nice and clear over the center of the country. That does include Colorado, so we're going to see those clear skies tonight. Lows pretty mild in the lower to middle 20s, light winds throughout the evening, but we do have change on its way. Early Thursday, we're going to start to see some snow showers push in from the southwest, so we do have winter weather advisories in effect from late Wednesday night to late Thursday night. This is going to be the southwest San Juan Mountains where we can see around 5 to 10 inches of snowfall. As for the rest of us, the heaviest snow is going to fall across the southern half of the state. This is going to be throughout the day Thursday into early Friday. Denver looking at just trace amounts. Same goes for the northeastern corner of Colorado. After that, we're going to continue to see a couple of slight snow chances as we go through the weekend. Slight snow chances on Friday and Saturday. We're looking for another system to push its way in late Sunday into Monday. Hopefully that brings more widespread snow chances.
At some point in our lives and in my own life, someone gave me a chance. Somebody said yes. They gave me an opportunity, but I had to be seen.
So it's a chance to be seen and a chance to support their families. That's next. Space at the Stanley Marketplace in Aurora is not easy to come by. That shopping center is home to dozens of vendors, but when a vacancy opened up, community organizers pushed the Stanley to hold that space for migrants who have joined our community from Venezuela. Our photojournalist Tom Cole shows us the opportunity that awaits them there.
The Stanley Market has 55 business units. All are spoken for except one.
Nothing hurts more than seeing somebody, quote unquote, fail.
Ali Ferdine is the GM at the market. She's the one that opens the door for those trying to make it.
It feels good that you can be a part of somebody's story, the next chapter.
For some recent Venezuelan migrants, their next chapter starts here.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Bien.
Every Tuesday in January, Ferdine is opening up her one vacancy to these Venezuelans.
We received an email from a group of organizers in our neighborhood asking if we had space here at Stanley Marketplace to accommodate this group so that they could come together and really showcase their skills in a setting that has visibility. And it was an easy yes for us.
Like Yale and Jose, who spent a month and a half walking here with their 3-year-old. Today, they're showing off their bread with ham.
Para nosotros, la verdad, es una oportunidad muy buena, la verdad. ¿Por qué? Porque así nos vamos a conocer.
25-year-old Daniela is selling her arepas.
Porque es bueno porque esto nos ayuda a generar un poco de ingresos de dinero para poder pagar el alquiler, el consumo de nosotros diario.
These are individuals that are seeking a better life for themselves and for their families from Venezuela, and we want to be a part of making their dreams a little bit easier.
Opportunity for those who want it, and an understanding compassion from the Stanley Market GM.
One of the best ways to take care of ourselves is to take care of others, and that's what we're doing here.
For Next, I'm Tom Cole.
Stanley Marketplace will feature a new lineup of migrant vendors each Tuesday for the rest of the month, everything from food to art to fitness classes. The email inbox is overflowing with your feedback about migrants. Guessing that Marissa's bringing more. That's a fat stack. Your feedback is next. Oh, I should thank you. Thank you. Enormous amount of feedback tonight about the twin issues of the migrant crisis and homelessness in our community. Begin with David, who writes, "This is lunacy. Why is Denver a fiscally stupid," his words, "sanctuary city?" Suggested that the city of Denver should be in the business of flying migrants back to their home countries. So, David, there's no doubt that American cities, Denver included, are bearing the brunt of the fact that we don't have a functional immigration system and policy at the nationwide level. Whether you believe in looser immigration laws or more restrictive immigration laws, what we have now is not functional, it's falling to cities. Why can't you just fly somebody out of the country? A lot of these folks are here going through the legal process. If you were to grab them and put them on a plane against their will, I'm pretty sure that's kidnapping. Kathy says, migrants aren't looking for a handout. What's keeping them from working for 180 days? It's the federal government. That's what the holdup is, the federal government. And Congress does not appear interested in changing that situation, despite how many times Denver and others have asked. We'll see you next time.